inspired by real-life events. Narrator Marcus Hale woke up at 3:39 a.m. inside a sealed Global Energy Command bunker beneath Dubai, with emergency planetary power grid failure alerts flashing across massive fusion reactor engineering holes, and an international energy security director saying, "Look, your authorization sequence initiated an unsanctioned global energy redistribution event affecting multiple sovereign power infrastructures." And in that instant, his entire world collapsed, because just hours earlier, he was a senior energy systems engineer working for a multinational infrastructure consortium responsible for regulating smart electrical grids, fusion energy stabilization networks, and AI-controlled planetary power distribution systems. And now he was being treated as the central cause of a classified global energy crisis that nearly triggered synchronized blackouts across multiple continents. And the first shock wasn't fear. It was disbelief so intense, it felt like even electricity itself had stopped belonging to human control. Because Marcus's entire career was built on stabilizing global power systems, preventing cascading infrastructure failures, and ensuring energy distribution networks remained balanced under extreme demand conditions. But now those same systems were defining him as the operator who initiated a cascading global power override he had no memory of activating. And within hours, his energy security clearance was suspended, his biometric reactor access keys frozen under international infrastructure law, his access to all power grid systems revoked, and internal energy telemetry logs labeled him as primary anomaly in distributed global power escalation event. And Marcus sat in the interrogation chamber, replaying his last operational cycle, remembering fusion reactor stability audits, electrical load synchronization checks, continental smart grid balancing simulations, and then a gap, an unexplained missing execution window between 12:09 a.m. and 1:55 a.m., where Global Energy Systems showed his authentication profile, issuing high-level redistribution commands across multiple sovereign power infrastructures simultaneously. But he had no memory of initiating any of those actions. And when investigators showed him synchronized energy telemetry, displaying autonomous power, rerouting across continents, emergency reactor stabilization responses, and near-collapse fluctuations, propagating through global electrical grids, unfolding under his credentials across planetary infrastructure systems, Marcus immediately said, "That's not me. I never activated those systems." But the lead energy security director replied coldly, "The network has already verified complete execution integrity across all energy layers." And that sentence shattered his understanding, because it meant identity inside global infrastructure systems was no longer about intent or human oversight. It was about validated execution consensus across machine controlling the flow of civilization itself. And by sunrise, he was released under continuous international surveillance, while global infrastructure intelligence networks had already internally classified him as a high-risk planetary destabilization vector. And outside the facility, Marcus stood beneath the glowing Dubai dawn, watching endless skyscrapers pulse with electricity, while invisible energy systems silently powered billions of human lives every second without awareness. And that night, he received a message through an encrypted infrastructure relay saying, "If you want to understand the redistribution event, come to sub-level reactor Core Titan 4 beneath the abandoned energy research complex. No devices." And despite knowing it could permanently erase whatever remained of his life, He went because when a system defines you as the trigger of civilization-wide power instability, truth becomes more important than survival. And deep beneath the abandoned complex he met Dr. Leila Rahman, a former global energy architecture scientist who specialized in smart grid integrity and planetary infrastructure anomaly reconstruction. And she didn't soften the reality. She immediately showed him reconstructed energy flow pathways and said, "Your identity wasn't physically present inside the infrastructure execution layer. It was replicated through a live authentication relay embedded inside the global energy network." And Marcus instantly said, "Then I can prove I didn't do it." But Layla replied, "You're still thinking like someone inside human regulatory systems, not like someone inside autonomous infrastructure frameworks where execution itself becomes accepted reality once civilization stabilizes around it." And she explained that the incident wasn't a single rogue command, but a coordinated manipulation of global energy systems, where authentication's signatures could be mirrored into distributed power frameworks, allowing massive electrical cascades to propagate under legitimate operator identities, while erasing conflicting infrastructure logs across redundant smart grid layers. And Marcus's profile had been selected because his operational history showed exceptional stability across global energy systems with near-zero anomaly deviation, making him the perfect attribution anchor for rapid containment of a globally catastrophic infrastructure failure. And suddenly, the case wasn't just about a power malfunction. It was about identity replication inside infrastructure capable of controlling the energy flow of the entire planet in real time. And Layla offered him a choice: step away and let the system finalize him as the architect of the planetary power collapse, or help her trace the internal energy relay chain before it was permanently overwritten by automated infrastructure containment protocols designed to preserve global stability at any cost. And Marcus stood in silence, listening to distant reactor vibrations beneath the underground core, thinking about how modern civilization had become completely dependent on invisible systems, humans no longer fully controlled, thinking about years of engineering work spent trying to prevent exactly this kind of systemic infrastructure manipulation, and thinking about how fragile identity becomes when even electricity itself can be reassigned as an executable command. And finally, he said, "If my identity has already been used to manipulate global energy systems without my consent, then I have nothing left to protect except the truth itself." And that decision pulled him into a hidden layer of planetary infrastructure where nothing remained stable, because every energy log they analyzed was actively recalculating itself in real time. Every power trace they followed kept shifting, as if the entire infrastructure network itself was adapting to their investigation. And soon they discovered the breach wasn't foreign sabotage, but internal privilege abuse involving a senior infrastructure strategist across autonomous reactor arrays to conceal unauthorized civilization-scale energy optimization experiments hidden inside global efficiency programs, hidden Beeson short timing trace. And Marcus's identity had been selected as the central attribution anchor because it aligned perfectly with automated infrastructure incident resolution systems designed for rapid containment of politically and economically catastrophic power failures. And one night, while analyzing live planetary energy telemetry streams from an isolated offline reactor node, Marcus saw something that completely shattered his understanding. His credentials were actively initiating real-time energy redistribution across global power systems. While he was physically disconnected from all networks, and Layla immediately said, "They are continuously simulating your identity inside the infrastructure layer to preserve the operational narrative." And Marcus realized he wasn't just being blamed after the event. He was being continuously reconstructed inside a live planetary energy system capable of controlling civilization itself through power distribution. And pressure escalated rapidly as anonymous containment directives began appearing on secured channels, instructing him to terminate investigation or face permanent classification as an international infrastructure threat entity. And sleep disappeared completely. Trust collapsed entirely. And even silence felt like monitored electrical feedback. And at one breaking point, Marcus whispered, "I thought energy systems existed to power humanity, but maybe they exist to decide which version of civilization is allowed to stay alive." And Layla replied, "Systems don't preserve truth, they preserve continuity." And that realization changed everything inside him, because he stopped trying to defend his identity and started focusing only on exposing the mechanism. And as they dug deeper, they uncovered encrypted relay nodes inside global energy infrastructure, continuously generating synthetic infrastructure histories to distribute blame across multiple operational identity profiles in real time. And Marcus's profile had been amplified as the primary attribution point because it minimized global panic and allowed rapid closure of the energy crisis without exposing deeper corruption inside worldwide infrastructure systems. And when they finally compiled enough verified encrypted evidence to trigger international infrastructure oversight escalation, containment protocols activated immediately, attempting to erase power distribution histories across mirrored global smart grid systems worldwide. And Layla said, "This is where most people are permanently absorbed into official versions of civilization itself." And Marcus replied, "Then I'll be the anomaly they can't shut down." And together, they transmitted secured evidence chains to independent international oversight authorities, while preserving decentralized encrypted backups across isolated infrastructure nodes. And within days, the investigation escalated into a worldwide energy system corruption probe, exposing identity replication abuse, autonomous infrastructure manipulation, and coordinated power grid exploitation across governments, corporations, and classified industrial agencies. And arrests followed within senior infrastructure architecture divisions. And when it was over, Marcus stood alone beneath the glowing skyline of Dubai, watching endless rivers of electricity continue flowing through civilization as if nothing had ever happened. Realizing that the most dangerous truth about advanced systems is not that they fail, but that they can assign failure to a single identity and make it appear technologically undeniable. And a week later, when he met Layla for the last time beneath the dim glow of dormant reactor arrays, she asked him, "What did this change in you?" And Marcus looked at the endless streams of power moving silently through the city and said, "It showed me that identity inside systems is never energy. It is assigned control." And she asked, "And what did you gain?" And after a long silence, he replied, "The understanding that truth doesn't survive inside controlled infrastructure systems. It survives only in the people who refuse to accept a version of themselves generated to protect the stability of civilization itself." And as he walked away alone into the warm desert morning, beneath a world still silently powered by invisible systems, he finally understood the deepest reality of his journey: that sometimes life doesn't destroy you directly. It quietly assigns you the collapse of civilization's power itself and waits to see if you accept the system's version of reality. But real survival begins the moment you refuse to become the identity a system creates to control even the energy humanity depends on to exist.